Hi, I'm Tim Aldis, aka Campervan Man, and welcome to Walt. So the idea was to have room for 3 to camp, and one of the things that I really wanted to do in an LT is create a much more useful area of the cab, and I think I've achieved that by having a sort of step up here and then swivel seats on both passenger and driver's chairs. Passenger chair is a bit tricky, it's on a pedestal. See if I can show you, and it rises and lowers, if you can see that. So you can actually attach a section that lifts it above the hump, because it's quite high to get over this engine cowl, but that works, and there's exactly enough space to have the chair in a reclining position the other way around. You actually have to lift it off the pedestal to turn it, but that's not too much of a problem. It's on a slider as well, so it goes back and forward, but that turned round is the perfect sort of lounge armchair for the front here. And the same for the driver's side. So the driver's seat's a bit trickier. It raises and lowers anyway, and it's got to, because it's got to clear the handbrake, which is on the other side there. And then you've got a swivel mechanism here, that's the handle, and you can slide back and forward. It has to go as far forward as possible to clear the steering wheel when it's turning, and the back has to be as upright as possible when it's turning, but I was quite lucky. It's all bolt through, there's nothing welded under there. But I think I was quite lucky, because pretty much first time I managed to get it so that it cleared the door, cleared the handbrake. The handbrake has to be off if you want to swivel it, which presents a whole bunch of other problems. But it does mean that this space here, with the double dinette seat behind, is a great lounge for 4 adults. We've had 4 adults and 3 kids in here, 3 kids in the back, 4 adults at the front sat around the table, and it's worked really well. The table itself is on a Lagan table leg, which is a lovely piece of kit, because you can unlock the handles and swivel it in any direction, so you can have it right out and over the front, or right back just for the passengers while you're driving on the journey, so you can draw, etc. The top itself is bamboo. This is the 2nd season for the van, so all this has only had maybe 4 trips away. You can see how I made that in the build series if you're interested. Double belted seat, obviously it has to be, but it's welded from 2x2 steel into a frame at the back there. It was one of the first things I built in the van, and that's obviously bolted through the floor, and it's designed to sit over the water tank. So I've got a custom 200 litre water tank under that floor panel there, and it goes all the way to the back of the seat. So that was one of the first things to go in. Under here I've got all my water systems. So this is the calorifier. Again, you'll see this in the build video if you're interested. It's free hot water when you're driving. The coolant pipes here and here flow hot water through a separate circuit, and then there's a freshwater circuit which pumps out hot water. I think it's 15 litres. It doesn't sound like much, but if you consider that's roastingly hot when it mixes to to make your shower. It actually extends the water usage quite a lot, certainly enough for us. And that's the main water pump there, amongst a bunch of other wiring. It's across the front axles more or less, so it distributes the weight quite well in the van. And then on this side we've got the power banks and charging systems, solar, etc., and a monitor, which I find invaluable. Oh no, okay, I was going to say there's no amps going in, but that's actually because the batteries are full currently, and you can see that the solar isn't required. But this was all, again, you can see the construction of this in the build series. It was all fairly logical. It's actually worked faultlessly. Even the 240 volt hookup to charge to warm the water in the calorifier, which is probably the most demanding piece of equipment I've got, has all worked fine via the RCD. And this is an inverter and a charger. So the plugs, of which there are two on the wall there and one by the bed at the back there, run off the inverter, so as soon as you plug anything in you get 240 volts as required. In the front, so a few modifications in the cab. Obviously I've built this shelf above, that's all custom. Got a CB and a USB Bluetooth radio, mechless radio. I've got this is an atomizer, an air purifier, which is just brilliant actually. You know, things get fairly stinky in diesel vehicles, but the air purifier sorts the air out in here quite nicely. So I've just completed putting in my new UK Speedo. It's still obviously in a left-hand drive dash, but it's pretty much halved my mileage overnight. Brilliant. The rev counter still works obviously, and I've now got my oil temperature and boost gauges in and wired up. This is a great RAM mount for my sat nav, obviously for my phone while I'm driving, and I've got my aux lights for the fog lights and the Cree light bar on the roof there. It's a 4x4, so I've got switchable high and low range four-wheel drive. And those are the diff lockers for the front and rear diffs. USB charger. I decided to ditch the cigarette at the ashtray and put that in, far more useful. And this weird thing above it is a barometer clock thing, which works quite well. It's dual zone, tells you the heat inside as well as out. Good for long journeys. It's a bit of a pain to set up just for ad hoc trips, but there we go. We've got a stereo in the front, twin speakers, and a sub under the seat, which does rattle a fair amount, but it's still nice and pokey. It's a free air one that just backfires into the under the seat. So you've got the twin leisure batteries in here. They're strapped in and wired in parallel, obviously. Moving back towards the back of the van, we obviously got locker space in the front here for various bits and bobs, books and maps and stuff, and games and what have you. More storage shelves here. You've got powered USB map lights either side of the bed and at the front here. I've got it's actually fake, well no, it's real teak, but it's only veneer strips for the floor, which I really like actually. It's, apart from smelling lovely once it's been re-teaked, it's kind of got that yacht feel to it, and it's lasted quite well. I don't mind if it gets trashed, to be honest. It'd be quite easy to scrape up and relay, so I'm really happy with the way it looks. So there's another cubby here, just bits and bobs for camping stuff, dog food, etc. Bin. This is obviously, everything's obviously custom, but it's got a lid, keep the stink in, and it just closes itself automatically, which is quite nice. So you've got water tank gauge, you've got the pump, so that's just everything can be isolated obviously when you're not camping. Fridge, fan at the back. Radar is actually the solar panel tilter on the roof, which I can show you. You know what, I can't even remember what those two are for. And then up the top here you've got the switches for the actuators for the solar panel tilter on the roof. And the galley. So the galley kitchen is standard campervan stuff. Just a flip up hot and cold mixer tap and a 2-burner hob, all run off LPG from a tank at the back of the van, which I'll show you. It's looking a bit shabby under there already actually. Another cupboard. This is the other side of the cupboard that you can access from the outside, and then you've got cutlery. You've got 2 drawers of pots and pans, and they are on soft close. I think that's a Blum drawer system, which is lovely. You've got, so there's a blank panel here, and I'll show you why. It's to do with the shower room, which is right next door, but above that you've got plates and sundries, and then our lovely fridge, although it's a slightly weird one because you've got to give it a real tug here, which is why we've got this additional tab here to help my daughter open the fridge. But I forget the model. It's a Dometic, oh, and it's leaking, needs a wipe. But a really great compressor fridge, and it's at the right level. Fridges are always too low in vans, so very pleased to have it, you know, right up where you don't need to continually bend down to either fill or remove stuff from it. It is probably one of the most used spaces, as you know, when you go camping, so that's why it's up high, and the grill even higher. I mean, there's no real reason for my daughter to use that. We don't really use it an awful lot. Do toast, but that's about it. But it does garlic bread. Storage on the other side. So this is I like this cupboard because it actually provides a shelf. If you want to make a cup of tea on the shelf, then you can do everything up here because we don't have a huge amount of worktop space, although I will just show you. So this additional piece of wood goes across the gap, so it literally just sits on the main light switch and goes across the gap. So that's just essential extra space, where really actually we were only using this as a chopping board, or of course the table with a chopping board on it. So yeah, this extendable countertop is really useful for making cups of tea in particular. There is a backlight back there, but it's not very well. These are designed to be shelves as well, but actually we haven't had to use them for that purpose. The furniture is all 15mm poplar ply. It was plain, so not veneered. Veneered poplar ply is £100 more per 8x4 sheet. I just couldn't justify the cost. But actually I wanted a very custom colour, and you can see this. I mean, I love this colour anyway, but you probably would struggle to get laminated ply in the colour scheme that I wanted. I'm using 3 colours here: the brown for the underside, the cream for the front, and the sort of, I don't know what you call that. They're all RAL colours, and everything's painted by hand. But I just really like that finish. It looks a lot like Euro campers. If you want some inspiration, go and check out Euro campers URO for some great ideas. And these lift up on gas struts, and then you've got this is quite handy. It's a slide out drawer. There's a missing bottle of wine down there, which is why things are falling over, but that's a very useful use of space. And a little drawer above that we haven't actually really used for anything, so it's full of leftover bits from the build still, but they all lock in nicely. Drinking water tap, that's I can't really show you the gubbins, but under the counter there's a filter, an inline filter, which is supposed to change every 6 months. And that's just connected to the water pump as well, so it's all pressurized and ready whenever you want it. Another USB lamp, one either side of the bed, and then the shower room. So I'm a bit of a geek. A lot of people say, why do you need a shower room in a van? It's just such a novelty. I love the idea. Ever since I was a lad and I discovered that you could shower in a vehicle, I was hooked, so I've had to do it. It's on a push-button ratchet locking system, which is very clever. It's the same as what's in the Florida, which is the van that I used to have before, the Westphalia. And it's a big shower room, actually. It's certainly big enough for me. So plenty of headroom. I mean, you can stand under the shower head still when it's up on the high hook here, so you can have a really good shower. It's designed so that you've got maximum space by storing the loo, and it's going to roll out because I'm on a slope for this video, but the loo's behind the tambour door. There you go, and if you fold the deck board up, it comes right out into the space, so that space would be lost. You know, if we had a permanent loo out. So the idea is just to slide it out of the way, and actually the tambour door acts as a sort of locking mechanism to keep it in place when you're on a hill. And this floor, I think it was our old bathroom mat, but that's very handy. And there's a vent there for the diesel heater, so this room gets nice and toasty in the mornings. This is a waterproof loo roll holder, which is very fancy. It's a bit of yacht equipment. Another cupboard there. Cupboard here for an almost invisible cupboard for toiletries. And here as well, I managed to cut them very flush and overlapped the. This is a sort of PVC. It's a hygiene. That's the sort of thing you get in chip shops, etc. But I managed to cut it so it overlaps, so even if you get water behind here or behind there or behind there or even behind here, you just close the door and you can see it's quite tight. Again, pressurized tap. I've got this in a new clamp there, because if you leave it in the nozzle, it was actually too long for the small sink, which of course has to be deliberately small. But now it's higher, it means you can more easily get your hands underneath and splash your face when you're washing in the evening. The handle is to help you get up off the loo. Horse box window, which is, I think, is great. When I'm standing having a shower, I can look out the window, and it's a lovely view up here. The fan and a light that are operated by the PIR detector there in the roof. There's another little fan on the kitchen side, which is switch operated. So the shower room's great, I love it. It's right next to the bed when the bed's down. That's the only consideration. I mean, we always sleep with our heads at this end, so our heads aren't right next to the loo. But I think if I was to be designing it again, I'd probably have the door opening the other way, because at the moment, if you get up out of the bed to have a wee in the night, the light comes on automatically and shines right in the bed. If the door opened the other way, then it wouldn't be an issue. So just a consideration, point of observation very little about this van that I would change actually, but that is one of the things. We've got a skylight above the bed, a Hecky with a built-in screen and fly net obviously. Another little window at the back likewise. And then, so this really isn't a lounge. I mean, you can lounge on the right hand seat if you want, but we almost always have the bed down when we're travelling. There's a slatted base on this side that comes up and across and slots into the holes on this side, and then the cushions flatten out and you can roll out. There's not a dead person under there, it's bedding roll that out, and you've got your bed made, so it doesn't take long at all to make and break camp. New bedding, fresh bedding in there. There's a couple of cubbies. I don't think these are in use for anything. Maybe some outdoor bits and bobs. There's a shoe caddy. What a touch of luxury is that? Well, there's nothing in there really. But you know, if the bed's out, you can still get to that from this side, which is nice.